All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's great to be with you this Tuesday morning. Today is May 13th, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. We will not have a training tomorrow because of travel. But specifically, let's take over from where we left off yesterday. On yesterday's training, we talked about I guess I'd say the new and improved opportunity fund. So we spent about 30 minutes going through using the flyer as a reference for our talking points. What is the opportunity fund? Who should use it? The benefits of it. I think we covered that pretty well. And if you missed any of that, you can go back to our YouTube channel and watch yesterday's training. Where I don't think that we had enough time to get into was the implementation. So today we're not going to talk about the opportunity fund in a general sense, but we're going to really get laser focused into the process and most specifically the 3 E's. So the role of the opportunity fund is to leverage the grant model to help participants who are purchasing a fundable shelf corp have immediate daily deposits. And like we covered yesterday, having daily deposits are helpful, right? It provides the client, the grant participant solvency. It helps their bank rating look stronger, stronger bank balance, stronger P&L. Obviously, right? When a business is showing that it's making money, it is stronger than a business that is not making money. And we know that often there's this bridge or gap of time from the moment that a client enrolls and buys a fundable shelf corp from any of you who are resellers or grant coordinators. Then we need 7 days to get the shelf corp over to them, get everything ready for funding. So there's a gap, and we want to minimize that gap or that period of time. That's really when the opportunity fund can be the most valuable. So, in other words, their business isn't fully up and operational because maybe they want to open an auto dealership or a restaurant or buy an apartment complex. Well, they're going to need the funding, the large funding to implement that part of their business. So, what do we do in the meantime? Do we just sit back and not show revenue, not show profitability? That wouldn't be recommended because what do we know? There are the 3 C's when it comes to lending: collateral, credit, and then capacity, otherwise known as cash flow. So the opportunity fund meets their need for capacity or cash flow during that interim. All right, so let's drill into the specifics. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, type it into the Q&A. It's like a chat function of Zoom. So let's go through the 3 E's because the opportunity fund needs to be very simple for our grant participants to leverage. The first E, who can tell me, does anyone remember from yesterday's discussion what the first of the 3 E's stands for? Yep, and Clinton's got it right. It is educate. So with the opportunity fund, we're not asking the grant participants to be a sales profession, and Jennifer got it right as well. Thank you, Jennifer. We're not asking the grant participants to be salespeople. Now, granted, they're entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs solve other people's problems. So frankly, we have to sell some good or service or we'll never make any money. So we're not really business owners. But ignoring that backstory, that narrative, we don't want participants in the opportunity fund to have to be a sales professional because not everyone's comfortable with that. Therefore, instead of sell, in the opportunity fund, the first thing that we do is we educate. So we have provided everyone has access to the 27 mistakes, plural, training video. If you've not seen this, kind of shame on me for not telling you, shame on you for not doing it. The 27 mistakes is a great educational message that can be taught to individuals or groups, online or in person. And it educates the individual so they understand both because two sides of the coin have to match up. So on one side, it says, here are the reasons, the mistakes that can keep you from getting funded. But of course, if you reverse that, it has to be true as well. Then if we do these things, we'll be able to be fundable. So this is what we start with, but it's an on-demand training video. So we're not asking participants in the Opportunity Fund to go learn this content, memorize it, customize it, go present a PowerPoint deck. No, we've eliminated all of that. It's just simply an on-demand training video. We've covered it on our morning trainings. It's up on our YouTube channel, which is referenced down here. So this is relatively easy. Now, how they want to gather people to educate is up to them. A number of you do different things, but let's take Joe, for example. What Joe will do is just have people over to his apartment, and he'll play the training video. He'll cast it from his phone on his big screen TV. And so he has people over, he makes some hors d'oeuvres or orders some Domino's pizza. And so Joe enrolls a lot of people in a very relaxed fashion. But we can go to churches, we can go to libraries, we can teach it online. It's up to you or up to the participant in the Opportunity Fund, but we need to start with educating. So this is good on a couple levels because a lot of people don't know what you and I know, right? There's a formula for funding that if you meet the recipe, the formula, the requirements, then anyone can get business funding. But a lot of people either dismiss that fact or they don't understand either what the recipe is or don't have the ingredients. So this is crucial. Is everyone pretty familiar with this presentation? If you could respond yes or no, I'm just curious if this is something that you all are familiar with. If not, we've referenced it before, we've taught it before, and it's available on demand. So this takes away the normal approach of needing to go make a pitch. We're not asking these people to go pitch anything, but what we're doing is asking them to help us go educate about what it takes to have a fundable business. So that's the first E. The second E is evaluate. So we use the comparison sheet for this purpose. So if you decide to become a grant coordinator / reseller, means the same thing. You can do that on 509 Pacific. I guess I can add that here on 509pacific.org to become a grant coordinator / reseller. Doesn't cost anything, no contract to sign. But once you filled out that form in short order, then we send what we call an implementation kit. And that includes, among other things, well, it includes also access to the training library, invitation to join us for the live trainings, but specifically, it includes the comparison sheet. It also has a link to the training that we did on how to use this. So again, still not a sales role. All we're doing is helping the prospect who is now more educated, because we're assuming the prospects we're working with is looking for money. They want money to start or grow a business. That's kind of the prerequisite. You don't need to pre-qualify, but if they're not looking for money to start or grow a business, they don't really have a problem that we can solve, or not at least solve with this solution. So if they've got a problem, we want to educate them, and then we want to evaluate on their options. So instead of just saying, hey, now that you know what it takes to be fundable, and now that you know that a shelf corp is probably the easiest way, sign up. That seems kind of forced, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. A lot of people are not good like you are in closing. You take Linzo, man, he is a closer. He could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. You've got Varney, closers. So many of you are natural born closers, but a lot of people, they don't have the background, the experience, the confidence to be a closer. So we're taking the sale out of the sales process, and we're taking the closing out of the sales process. So again, we educate and then we evaluate. When we send that implementation kit to everyone that requested on 509 Pacific, again, it includes this comparison sheet. It has a number of, it's in Microsoft Word, so it's editable, has a number of columns. And in the first column, it's describing here are the benefits, the features and benefits of a fundable shelf corp. And then the other columns are blank. So what we're able to do is help the client, the potential client, the prospect, do a comparison of their options. So they have a problem. They want money to start or grow a business. We've educated them so they have a good foundation of knowledge. And then now we're helping them evaluate to make an educated decision of what's the best solution. So we know how our solution works. And so it's already pre-filled in. You don't have to have intimate knowledge of all the elements. It's already there. And then we're just comparing their other options. But the truth is, a lot of these folks, they don't have another option to go get 100,000 or $1 million. They might have a hope, they might have a prayer, they might have a dream, but they usually don't have a plan. And so educate first and then help them come to their own conclusion. If from that they would like to move forward, then they can enroll. Our experience has been, both with what we've done and what we've heard from the field, is about 80 to 90% of the people that you educate as stated and then evaluate as recommended will enroll. Well, what does that mean? So again, when you requested the kit to be a grant coordinator or reseller, we emailed you that implementation package that I mentioned, includes the comparison sheet, but it also includes the grant participation form. So you should have that. If you don't have that, you could probably best text us and ask us for it again. If you've never signed up, which didn't cost you anything, no contract to sign, come sign up, but then you'll receive the comparison sheet and you'll receive an editable version of this. So this is what we would call a template. So it comes to you and it has our information on it. Well, you don't want that because you're going to take our information off and you're going to put yours on. Now, one element of that is pricing. So let's go ahead and break this down. So what are need to edit template? So what are the things we need to edit? Of course, we need to change what we'll call the entity and related information. So in other words, it has our information on it now. You don't want that. You want to take our information off and put yours on. Very simple. Anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere. It has our information. You replace it with yours. Because the money is going to be coming into you or to the participant in the opportunity fund. The money's not coming to us. The goal is to drive money into the client's bank account. But that doesn't happen, right? This is not a welfare program, as we talked yesterday. People don't want a welfare program. I encourage you to ask people, give them two choices. Would you like me to show you how you can start earning $5,000 a day, or would you like me to just give you $5,000 a day? If they're an entrepreneur, they're going to say, I don't want free, I want to earn it. So this is great. It's what mom and dad taught us to do. We earn our keep. So with that being said, we need to change our information because the client is going to actually pay the person that's doing the presentation and do the grant coordinator, essentially, and conducting the comparison sheet. But we also need to be cognizant about changing the pricing. So when we talk about the pricing for the fundable shelf corporation, we need to keep in mind a few things. So normally, and we're going to define this, normally there is no upfront / out of pocket cost to get a shelf corp. That's the design. However, there's a couple things that could change that. One of which is if you want to charge them something up front. We have a number of you that are resellers that are charging $1,000. And so the template actually says 1,000. So if you want the participant to pay up front, then leave that as it is, Kenny and others. However, if you don't want them to pay up front, then you can remove that. That's up to you, because anything that you collect up front is your money that you're getting right away. And I'll describe the process, the flow of money in a moment. But anything that's up front is essentially what they're giving to you to even start the process. And that's up to you. I have some of you that want people to have skin in the game. Some of you don't. Some of you are charging $0 up front, some 1,000, some 5,000. That's up to you. Now, we're not going to worry yet about financing. So by design, it is meant to finance the shelf corp with no out-of-pocket cost. That's the intent. So with that being said, if you see the template and it has any of our information, and Kenny, don't play word games with me. If it has any of our information, any and all is what we said 3 times before. This is the 4th time. Remove it. And then you can change the pricing if you wish. The other thing that you want to consider is, what is the sales price of the shelf corp going to be? So determine sales price. So let's say that you're Walmart or Amazon or Dollar General, and you get a jar of peanut butter from Peter Pan. You have to make a decision, how much do you want to mark it up? Because if you're Walmart or Amazon or Dollar General and all you do is sell the peanut butter for the same that you bought it from the factory, from the manufacturer, then there's no upfront profit. And so maybe you just want to break even. Hard to run a business like that, but if that's what you want, hey, go for it. But a lot of people want to mark it up. So Walmart charges more for the peanut butter than what they acquire it for. So does Amazon, so does most retailers. So when we get to the sales price, what do we know? We know that the wholesale cost of a fundable shelf corp is $10,000. Therefore, anything that you market up from that is your profit. Most of you are selling it for $15,000 to $20,000. Thus, you would make $5,000 to $20,000. However, the full amount, the full sales price is coming to you, showing gross income into your business. Because again, we're all sophisticated, right? We all understand the difference between gross income and net income. If not, probably need an accounting course. So the wholesale cost is $10,000. You can leave that as it is. You can move it up. You can change it. And then again, going back to this, you can charge upfront some, all, or not. So by design, we'd frankly rather you not charge anything up front. I think we can help more people, but that is up to you. Once these 3 steps, so let's bold this. So once you've educated, evaluated, and enrolled, you're done. You're done. You don't have to do anything else. We take care of everything else. Where we've seen the greatest issues and problems is people don't want to kind of stay in their lane, because we take care of the financing, which I'm going to describe the process. It's not that it's a secret, but we do that. You're not responsible for getting these people financing. You're not responsible for getting them set up on the buy now, pay later, which I'll explain in a moment so it all makes sense. It's not your role. So think about the last time you went to the car dealership. The last time I went to the car dealership was Mercedes of Shreveport, Louisiana, I guess about 3 weeks ago now. We bought a new Mercedes for my daughter. So how does it work in a car dealership? Think about that as a model. You've got the salesperson that is showing you the car, showing you the inventory, test driving, and getting a commitment on which vehicle. You're not a salesperson, you're not selling cars, but that's a good analogy. Then afterwards, they go into financing, and the finance manager takes care of everything else. That's the way this is designed. So if you're getting involved in the finance, you're out of your role, you're out of your lane. If you work in a car dealership and you try to kind of be a know-it-all and you not only find the right car for the person, but you start working on financing and payments, they will fire you at the car dealership because it's not your job. It's not because you're not smart enough or good enough. It's not your job. If you want to be in finance, go get a finance job. And we have finance openings. So if you want to come work in finance, come work for us. It's great. But in the opportunity fund, as well as being a reseller in general, this is what you can do. And it keeps it very simple. So let me pause there. I do want to disclose what happens afterwards so we're all on the same page. But there's no selling involved. We educate, then we apply what they've learned to their circumstance, which we call evaluate, and then they make a decision if they want to enroll because they're the one that has the problem. And you happen to have one solution. I'm not saying it's the only solution. I think it's probably the best solution, but educate, evaluate, enroll. So what's your feedback? Is this a process that you think that you could follow successfully, Jennifer? Jennifer Roberts, can you see yourself doing the 3 E's? Lynn, we've got 542 of you on now. Pearlson, Rod, I think some of you are making it so complicated that you're not being successful. Now, some of you are successful, of course, but I think many of you would benefit from this simplistic model. Use the on-demand training, then interface with them to complete the comparison sheet. Don't just send them the comparison sheet and say, hey, go figure it out. Do it with them in person, online, telephonic, however you want. They have it in front of them. You have it in front of you. If you can see the same, like a shared screen would be great, but it doesn't have to be. You could email them a copy of your comparison sheet, have them on the phone, make sure they have it pulled up in front of them. You have it in front of you and go through it. But you need to help people take this knowledge that they've learned and then apply it to their circumstance so they can make their own educated decision. And our experience is if you do this and you do this, you'll have about 80 to 90% of the people enroll. All right, so with that being said, now let's go ahead and get down to what happens afterwards, because this is the end of what you're involved with. You're not responsible for getting them financing. You're not responsible for the buy now, pay later, which I'll go into more description here. This is where your job ends. This is it. This is where your job ends. And those of you that are good about stopping here, you're great. But those of you that aren't satisfied with this because you're either too important to stop here or too smart, that's where it tends to fall apart. But let's talk about what happens. So again, went to that Mercedes dealership. We worked with Chris. We test drove the car. Actually, I didn't. My daughter did. But she test drove the car. We said, yep, we wanted it. So then we went into finance. So now let's go into finance. We're going to go into the finance department. Do you do finance? No. If you want to do finance, send us a resume. We'll hire you to do finance. But if you're a reseller, a grant coordinator using the opportunity fund, no, you don't do finance. So let's clarify. This is not your role. You want it to be your role? Give me your resume. We can talk. Okay, so what happens then in finance? All right, well, what happens is we send the client a finance application and copy you on it. So we're going to email it to them. Also, Madison, who's on the training this morning, our funding coordinator, will call them and text them. So we're doing, I think, a diligent job of saying, hey, Great. Thanks for enrolling in a fundable shelf corp from Pearlson, from Quentin, from Rod. We'll reference your name. We'll copy you on the email. And we're saying, well, now we need to get financing to pay for it. Just like with that Mercedes in Shreveport. Sure, we like the car. It's a cool color, but at some point we need to pay for it. So what will happen then is client will complete finance application. Do you complete it? No, they do. Do you want to prompt them to do it? Of course, because if they don't complete this, the deal kind of dies, right? But so you can encourage them to do it. You can let them know what the next step is, but is it your job? No. We need to make this bold, don't we? This is not your role. So once they complete the application, then our staff will get them financing offers. Some people get a bunch of offers. Some people only get one. Everyone gets at least one. Some will get big offers that are a great amount of cash funding. Kenny's on here, and I'm not going to disclose any of Kenny's information, but Kenny filled out his app yesterday, and Kenny received cash offers that totaled well over $50,000. So obviously much more than what the shelf corp cost. So that's the way it normally works. But some people aren't as strong as Kenny. So if they're not especially strong, they'll always get at least one offer. So from your front end, you don't want to be stating what the finance terms will be. Now, you can certainly tell them what your sales price is, because that's an honest thing to do, and it should be in the agreement as well. So let's say that you're selling it for 15,000. You can say, well, yeah, the shelf corp is 15,000. We'll set up financing for that, and then through the grant, you actually get a reimbursement of that after you complete the process. Those are all true statements. But it's not your role to tell them what the finance terms are, because frankly, it's not your role. And number two, you don't know. We don't know until we have a finance app and we get them offers, because we use external lenders, and we have over 40 external lenders. They have different terms, different underwriting criteria, but we certainly have an offer for everyone. So we'll go ahead and add that. Everyone will get at least one offer. Many people get multiple offers to choose from. So we're going to do this. Now, will you be in the loop? Sure. Can you encourage them? Yep. But this is not your role. And we're going to take a stronger role, stronger position. We have a lot of you that are bogging us down. And I don't mean it negatively, but you're wanting to bog us down in what's not your role. If you want to work in finance, send us a resume. We can hire you. But if you're not in finance, then focus on your role. Jennifer mentioned when she came through, she did not receive an offer. Well, things have changed, Jennifer. We have more lenders on board now than we did before. And so as of now, we can promise, we can guarantee everyone will get at least one offer, because we have one lender that has no minimum credit score, guaranteed approval. So what happens after that? Well, client then pays for the fundable shelf corporation. Now, we're not saying that they have to come up with that 10,000 or 15,000. They're using financing. We've already described that. But again, going back to the Mercedes financial, did we pay that, whatever it was, 86,000? Did we pay 86,000 before we drove off in the new Mercedes? No. We financed it through Mercedes-Benz Financial, through the business, by the way. And so we had no out of pocket. We financed it. So the car had to be paid for before ownership changed to us. The shelf corp has to be paid for either out of pocket, which isn't the intent, or through financing before it's theirs to use. That's what you'll run into some people that aren't too knowledgeable, and they'll say, well, why don't you just give me the shelf corp and I'll pay you later? Well, it's not your asset. You can't use someone else's asset for a capital raise. Doesn't work that way. So then we go into the implementation. I'm not going to go into the implementation today for a few reasons. One, we're out of time. And secondly, we had a recent training that went through the checklist that I think is extraordinary. So it's a blue and white checklist. If you're not very familiar with that, then text us and we can get you a copy of that checklist. So let's go back and see what questions any of you have on what we've covered before we wrap it up. So today is part 2 of the Opportunity Fund training, more of the nuts and bolts. Yesterday, what we did is we covered the concept and went through the flyer and the big picture. So that's probably important prerequisite knowledge for today to make sense. If you didn't see it, you can go to our YouTube channel and view yesterday's training. It was also emailed to most of you, should be all of you. And then today we talked about in more detail the 3 E's. So you can turn this around and say, we've created a very simple, forgive me for saying it, sales process. We've taken the selling out of the sales process and we've taken the closing out of the sales process. Therefore, many of you, I think, will greatly benefit from replicating this approach, because it keeps you from being so responsible to convey how everything works. So instead, play the training video. After the training video, evaluate their options with them, not for them, but with them. And then thirdly, just give them the option to enroll if they want. Tell me if I'm blowing smoke, but I believe that if you've educated them properly and you've helped them come to their own conclusion, it's almost a no-brainer. We got to stop talking about money so much, because the financing is not your role. We know that they don't need to pay anything up front or out of pocket unless you want them to. We've got different financing options. Let us go through the process, get them the finance app. They'll complete the app. We'll get them the offers. You'll know where they're at, because this is money coming to you. We're acting as your finance department, if you will, because who do they pay for the shelf corp? They pay you. They pay you because it's your transaction. You're using our system, our template to sell fundable shelf corporations, and that money comes to you. And that money is what we're talking about. So if you're selling each one for 15,000, marking it up, then your gross income is 15,000. Your net income is 5,000. And there's just no reason that we can't do that on a daily basis. All right, so we got our contact information, support and training. Let me quickly preview the Q&A and see if there's anything. Lamy asked if it's only available for USA. No, we offer it worldwide, so that's not a problem. Let's see if there's anything else. The editable contract should be real easy. I'll have about 1 out of 100 of you that get caught up on it, but the other 99 just simply take the editable agreement and make those changes. So you should be fine. So that is right here. You need to edit it. Rod says we've helped him refocus and have a way forward. Okay, great. Thanks. Let's see if there's anything else. All right. Well, I think we've covered the gist of it. If you need additional assistance, I recommend texting us. We will not have a training tomorrow, Wednesday, because of travel, but we'll be back normal schedule on Thursday. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and let's go practice the 3 E's. And I think from that, you'll be able to recognize what we keep saying. You should be earning net profit 5,000 a day starting today. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.